Rich Reynolds is back.
Hey, boss, how you doing? Good to be back.
Well, what a time for you to go on holiday last
Oh,
week.
my goodness. It was a bad time to go away. Did I miss anything?
No, well, I'm not quite sure, really.
What did I miss?
Nothing very much was going on, to be honest, really. Wow. Yeah, I mean, you were in France, but I'm guessing everybody was wowing over the events on the political scene in the United States.
No, it was crazy. And so what I missed was, when I left, England had a different prime minister and a different government.
Britain. Mm-hmm.
Spain hadn't won the Euro Cup. No. A British cyclist won the Tour de France. Yay. In the U.S., the Republicans anointed Donald Trump and a guy who says he's a hillbilly as vice president, as his candidate, and everything looked great for them after their convention in Milwaukee, and it looked like they were going to kind of roll. And then Joe Biden got COVID, dropped out of the race, and appointed Kamala Harris as his president-elect in waiting. So Harris, so everybody might know this, she's a mixed race woman of a black father and an Indian mother. And so they're going to face off in November in the world's most famous misogynistic bigot. So let's go.
Well, the last time he had to go up against a woman, it was Hillary Clinton, and he wasn't very nice to her, was he?
No, and it's going to get really nasty, we think, and there's going to be a lot of racial stuff and a lot of things about her being a woman, and I hope they keep it clean, but it. The smart money says, no, it isn't going to be. It's going to be kind of nasty. But I think she's up to it. I mean, she was a prosecutor. She's pretty...
It's the prosecutor against the felon. I've seen that in a lot of American headlines.
It is, and I'm telling you, and she is one tough bird. And I know we're going to get into it now, but I'll tell you, the whole Democratic Party has just been lifted up by this because a decision was finally made, because it was clear that Joe was... not up to the task.
When they said he had COVID, I was thinking, this is going to be the one. They're going to. This is how they're going to do it.
I know, but we had some severe doubts whether Trump even got shot. I have a friend who's a makeup artist.
There are those theories.
Well, I have a friend who's a makeup artist in Hollywood and worked on some really, really big series and big movies. And my wife contacted her and said, does that blood on his ear look kind of fake? She goes, I was thinking that too. It looks absolutely fake. If I was doing work like this, I'd be fired. So, I don't know. He was probably shot, but he
was quite a good actor then, because he did seem to be, pooing his pants when he was on the ground. But then when he came up, and did the T-shirt.
Yeah, and then he asked where his shoes were.
How was that? Was that how that looked staged?
I know.
I don't know.
A little bit on the phony side, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
And what about yesterday? We were hearing, we'll get to that a little bit further down the line, won't we?
You're steering the ship.
Yeah, okay. All right. She's looking forward, Kamala Harris, to... accepting the Democratic nomination. We hadn't got Nancy Pelosi until late last night. Mm-hmm. She's now on board. I didn't quite understand what her advisors were saying. She didn't want to be kingmaker, so she waited.
Yeah.
What? She was waiting to see.
She was waiting. Exactly. That's a little disingenuous. I think she just wanted to see which way the wind was blowing, and with Chuck Schumer, who is in charge in the Senate, and a lot of the other people who were very high up in the party, she just wanted to make sure
a few hadn't said anything at that point. Gretchen Whitmer hadn't pulled out either.
That's right.
And the Obamas didn't say straight away.
Obama really he hasn't endorsed anybody.
No, he hasn't. No, but I think he's, there are maybe a lot of people are hoping, maybe Michelle will go for it, but she's always said she wouldn't.
Well, she doesn't need the money. She's got more money than God.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Who wants that job? Right now she does what she wants. She goes where she wants. And she's got a lot of money, and she's producing movies in Hollywood. Yeah.
There's got to be some kind of democratic process. I think that's where we're heading.
There is.
I don't want to jump in and do all of our stories all in one go, of course.
But this has never happened before, and so that's why everybody's kind of feeling around, because it is the last time this happened.
Politics anywhere in the world. This,
I know.
It's all new. Everything keeps happening that's never happened before.
I know.
Isn't it?
I know,
weird?
and they really didn't know what to do. And now the Trump campaign is I know we're going to get to this in a little bit.
Yeah.
Trump campaign was frantic because their whole
It was all geared up.
everything was geared up to how old Joe was, and now the oldest man in the race is Trump.
Indeed.
So we'll see what's happened as we go through this thing. But
Right. So she will accept the Democratic nomination should it come. She's got enough delegates supporting her now.
she does. She's got about almost 2,200, and she needs. I think she needed around 1,600 to be. And they did it all by. I guess they did it by phone or by Zoom or something like that. But everybody that was committed to Biden is now committed to Harris. So it's pretty much a layup.
Okay, so what happens at the Democratic convention in, next month, isn't it? August?
It's a coronation. What happens?
Effectively?
Effectively, it's a coronation.
Like a mini primary sort
Yeah,
of?
yeah, yeah. Well, no, but what they do is the first couple of days, it's 4 days. The first couple of days is a bunch of speeches about how great she is, and by then she will have announced the vice president and how great he or she is. And then the vice presidential candidate gives a speech on the third day. And on the fourth day, they take the vote. And it's pretty much a
given thing. Yeah?
It's a great American tradition. They go around the great state of Montana, cast 5 states, 5 votes for, and everybody applauds. And then they do this 50 times, more than 50 because there are territories like Puerto Rico. But they go around the room and then they finally say, and so by unanimous, this person is going to be, Harris is going to be our nominee. And then she comes out and she gives a big speech, and that's the end of the conference. They drop a bunch of balloons.
So that's it. She is the presumptive.
She's presumptive.
Nominee. Yeah, presumptive. Nominee.
She'll be presumptive until August, mid-August.
Okay.
But it's kind of interesting how everybody has rallied, and I have a lot of Democratic friends.
A huge amount of money as well in 24 hours.
$250 million. In 24 hours.
That's unprecedented.
That's BayRadio money. That is.
Oh dear, yeah, we'd all be going. Anyway, let's not go.
No, that's another thing.
No, that isn't that sort of money has never been raised before in a presidential campaign.
I don't think so.
It hasn't. It absolutely hasn't.
I think
in that short a period.
I think everybody on the Democratic side is just excited about having a candidate who's got a lot of energy, who's really sharp.
There were a lot of sighs of relief, weren't there? I think
a lot.
Because it just got worse and worse, didn't it?
It did.
Introducing President Zelensky as President Putin, and when actually calling Kamala Vice President Trump as well.
I know.
It's sad.
And every time you saw him,
awful.
He looked
worse.
Yeah, he looked robotic and like his hands were frozen. And that being said, I need to go on record as saying I think he's been a great president.
Indeed.
I think he's done a wonderful job. He's accomplished a lot. The infrastructure is better. He couldn't do much about inflation. It was bad. But you know what? As I point out to everybody, my friends back in the States and anybody listening back in the States, you know what? Inflation was bad in Spain, in France, in Germany, in the UK.
Post-pandemic,
everywhere. Everywhere.
But jobs are back.
Jobs are back, and I remember, talking to my brother one time, and he goes, "Well, gas is like $3.50 a gallon here," and I go, "Gas is $6 a gallon here, so shut up." It's like it's all relative. It's all right. Joe Biden did not create inflation. It's not his problem. He didn't do that.
I think there were concerns about his legacy, and this was the time, I suppose, to protect and preserve his legacy for future years. To go now. I mean, he couldn't really. It was getting to the point where he either had to do it or not, and he'd have to have pushed on. Which
absolutely,
what would have happened then? Anyway, it's like I said, mostly sighs of relief. From what I can imagine, amongst Democrats. So, of course, there is another battle to go, another thing to be sorted out, and that's running mate, isn't it?
Yeah, there are a lot. The good thing about the Democratic Party right now is that they have a lot of bench strength.
Strong contenders, though.
Very strong contenders. But I think when you look at it, it's going to be I have somebody that I think is going to be the candidate. It's not the person
If you remember what happened when Obama needed a running mate, he chose Joe Biden.
He did.
The elderly white statesman.
Yeah.
Because eventually he became the first black American president. Mm-hmm. Kamala now has, you would say, a lot against her in some people's eyes because she's a woman, because she has Asian and Black American parents, and so her heritage might be against her unless you get. I'm sorry to say this in this way, but it's absolute truth. Unless you get a strong senior white Democrat male in as the running mate.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to shake out. I think
you're saying it's not who you would perhaps go for. Because it probably is a better contender. However, under the circumstances,
I'm a big fan of a couple of the people who are in line, and one of them is Gretchen Whitmer from the state of Michigan.
Her a couple of weeks ago.
Really sharp, really sharp person. But the chances of two women being elected. Is in my
there are a lot of Americans who won't vote for a woman. We know that from
that's
Hillary,
right. That's right. But when I look at two women running, I'm going. I don't think they want to be. The Democrats want to be bold. When they chose Obama, that was a really bold choice. Kamala Harris was a really bold choice. I don't know how bold they want to be. There's a guy named Josh Shapiro who's the governor of Pennsylvania, which is a swing state, and meaning it could go anyway. Yeah. And he's very popular. But the problem is Josh Shapiro is a Jewish man. I don't know how bold they're going to be, because there might be that bias. I think another smart money, and he came out of nowhere, is a guy named Mark Kelly, who is a former astronaut. And I believe he's still a junior senator from Arizona. He's been senator about 5 or 6 years. Really sharp guy, probably around 50-ish or so. Really, sharp as a tack. But I believe the ultimate choice is going to be a guy named Andy Beshear, who's the governor of Kentucky, who's very popular. Kentucky is not a swing state; it's very red, but he is a liberal governor in a conservative state. He's very popular, and he's not an elder statesman. He's only 46, but he's really well liked. And
actually, amongst the leading names that have come out, there isn't really an elder statesman amongst them. I wouldn't have thought. I mean, there are some seasoned people who have held office. Transport Secretary, Pete Buttigieg. He's perhaps the most well known, I would imagine, for listeners outside of the states.
Yeah, there's a guy named Roy Cooper from North Carolina that people are high on, but I believe he's
67.
Yeah, he's 67, and I don't think she's 59, but I think Kamala Harris plays young. I don't think she looks 59. I think she's very energetic and very sparkly, and she's very charismatic. And as you know, whether it's in the UK or it's in the US, charisma wins every time. If somebody is smart, charismatic, the John F. Kennedy types, the Barack Obama. I mean, Obama just swept the country. You may not have voted for him, but you want kind of a cool guy. If you get a chance, you vote for a cool guy or a cool woman. And I believe that that's gonna play in his.
So you mentioned that perhaps the running mate isn't going to be who you would prefer.
Gretchen Whitmer would be my choice, but I don't know if it's her time. I think Andy Beshear is going to be the choice.
Whether the Democrats or the country would accept that there are two women in those strong positions of power. We have to talk about these things. So, I don't care about whether it is or isn't taboo. These are real facts, and these are things that voters look at, and these are issues that are part of this campaign.
Well, we're talking about people's biases and the way people feel in general. These are not our opinions. Yours and my opinion are not this person would be good or not. It's that this is who we think would be possibly in the seat. But it's always said that nobody ever voted for a vice president. It's not going to tip it. But if you look at it and you make a bad choice, that person becomes fodder for the late night talk shows, and everybody will laugh at them. And it's you don't want someone who's a liability like Sarah Palin.
Before we go to the break, though, you have to remember that pretty much early on, when Kamala did become vice president, she didn't get an easy ride there.
No.
A lot of people accused her of disappearing, not really saying very much, not really doing very much. And then when she did come out and say things, she was accused of word salad and all the rest. She does like to string a long sentence together.
She does. She's a talker.
She does. You don't always know what she's talking
chatty.
about. So, and those are some of the negative sides. But I think certainly from what we've seen in the last couple of days, just leapt into it and running away with it.
Yeah, she's very dynamic, I think, and she said so far, in her 3 days of running for office, she said all the right things. Let's see what happens in day 4 and day 5 and day 35.
Not a bad start then for Kamala Harris, but it's a bit of a big step to get all the way, isn't it? So there's a lot to do.
Well, she's been running a couple of days now. We'll see what happens. She's got Netanyahu coming to town today. He's speaking to Congress, I believe, tomorrow.
Yeah, there aren't any meetings today for some
No
reason,
meetings. I guess maybe he's got jet lag or something like that. But
I think also he's trying to meet Trump too. I read that.
I didn't hear that.
Not today, but at some point while he's there. And we're not sure about any meetings with Kamala Harris either. We certainly know that that's not going to happen today because she's doing something else.
You know, she's making a speech at a sorority at a university somewhere. I don't know where, but. I
guess that was booked before this,
yeah,
right?
I would think.
It would be unusual for her to be doing something like that.
You know, she probably should have canceled that and met with the president of
Israel,
of the prime minister of Israel. But I think that things are going to be kind of a little wonky over the next couple of months since she's running. Joe is not. He's running the country. She is not. So when dignitaries come to town, who do you talk to? Well, you're going to
get their diaries.
He's a lame duck now. So that's going to be. Do they use that term in the UK?
Well, we
duck?
understand, absolutely what you mean. It normally is applied to a lame duck president, but and the Republicans, as we understand it, are probably going to have a go at that.
The thing that's being passed around, thanks to Mike Johnson, who is a complete tool. I got to tell you, he says if he can't run for office, he can't run our country. So he believes, and now he's pushing a lot of people in the Republican Party to push Joe Biden out.
So are they just muddying the waters here because he'd be gone by January anyway?
Exactly. But what he wants to do is, I think he wants to get it into the courts. Get in front of a judge. Of course, it'll take forever, but getting a judge and getting lawyers working on this thing so it costs money, and the fact that you don't think. Joe Biden has proven conclusively that he's a good president, that he's able to handle the job. It's the campaigning that's a problem. It's looking 4 years down the line. That's the issue. That's the complete issue for the party right now is where is he going to be 4 years from now? And
what about this American view then in Washington that a presidential candidate will never have a better day than the one that follows their announcement? Is it going to get difficult for Kamala down the line?
I think it's going to get wicked. And hopefully there won't be a lot of gaffes in there, and hopefully she'll have all her disciples out there running from campaigning for her on different platforms. But yeah, I think this is going to get harder before it gets easier. Right now, she's in her honeymoon. She never had a honeymoon before because she lost. She was running against Joe for the chair, and as we know, did not win the big prize, but it's going to be kind of interesting. It's going to be a real slugfest because, as we know, Trump after the Republican convention felt he had this whole thing locked up.
Well, I mean, it would really
all
was
the numbers.
Like it was almost a divine
exactly
right to become the next president following the assassination attempt.
Oh, of course.
That's certainly the way it went down at the convention.
Well, yeah. Here's a guy who got shot, or did he? He got shot.
And
all these
theories,
people walking around with the pillows on their ears.
Why, I guess what you call it, the sympathy act of wearing a bandage over your
When he
hair.
showed up at the convention, and we were sitting there going, "Oh no, look at this guy," because that's the first we had seen him, right? And he kept showing up at the convention to make sure everybody was saying nice things about him, and I thought, what a guy, what a human being this guy is. But he's complaining on Truth Social that Biden dropping out is unfair to the Republican Party.
It's unfair.
It's unfair because now they have to face a new opponent. Everything they had, all their guns were aimed at Biden, and now they've got to aim it at somebody else, and they weren't prepared for doing that. And as you may have mentioned, Kamala was not.
I've just got to. This is what he said.
Okay, go ahead.
The Democrats pick. This is quotes. Okay. The Democrats pick a candidate, crooked Joe Biden. He loses the debate badly, then panics and makes mistake after mistake. Is told he can't win, and they decide they will pick another candidate, probably Harris. This is what he posted on Monday. They stole the race from Biden after he won it in the primaries. A first. These people are the real threat to democracy.
What a guy.
There you go. That's what he wrote on Truth Social.
Genuine sore loser. So we'll see.
He's rattled then.
It does appear that he's a little bit rattled, and they had all the momentum coming out of Milwaukee, and now going into Chicago in about 3 weeks, the Democrats are going to have. It looks like everything will have been shifted toward the Democratic Party, and maybe back and forth, and away we go, and we'll see how it goes. But it's a whole new ball game, and in the beginning I thought, I wonder if the party can get it together for the next in 100 days. They've been campaigning. Joe Biden's been campaigning for almost 2 years, and now she's got 100 days to pull it together. But
this is the sort of stuff she's going to have to come up against, though. This is more off Truth Social, written by former President Trump. It's not over. Tomorrow, crooked Joe Biden's going to wake up and forget that he dropped out of the race today.
Ouch. Now, that may be true. I don't know. Probably not. But, that's it's going to get really, really interesting before it gets uninteresting.
Okay, yeah, it's certainly a huge job ahead of Kamala Harris. There's plenty of issues that she'll be needing to deal with, not least, ethnicity, the fact that she's a woman, and all of the political issues as well. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll keep abreast of things between now and, it's just, we haven't got long to wait, have we, till the Democratic Convention?
We don't. It's just a couple of weeks. I think it's August 12th, I want to say, somewhere around there.
Right. What about this visit, then, from Benjamin Netanyahu? What are we expecting? He's definitely going to be received by Joe Biden, and one would have to expect, certainly, at some point, it would have happened anyway, that he would have met the vice president.
Yeah, he's going to talk to Biden. We know that privately. I would think that he talked to the two of them together, so they're singing off the same hymnal. But apparently not. So
actually, if you think about it, that hasn't always happened anyway with Ukraine, because Kamala Harris has made quite a few trips, a number of trips to Ukraine.
You're right about that.
On her own. So.
You're right about that. But in this case, she's going to talk to Netanyahu privately. She is more of a hardliner than Biden is. I mean, she really believes that the Palestinian people should be treated a little bit better. She believes that
she's with a lot of other people there.
She is with a lot of other people, and the people in especially places like there's a city in Michigan called Dearborn that you've probably heard of. Huge Palestinian presence up there. A lot of Palestinians and people who are Muslim live up there. And she is singing their tune.
And we need to perhaps talk a little bit more about the Republicans as well. We touched on JD Vance, who, since you were last in the studio, has been nominated as Trump's running mate. What do we know about him? We as Brits, we don't really know very much about him. Well,
he's a junior senator, so meaning he's only been in the Senate for 2 years. He represents Ohio, which is now a red state. Used to be a swing state, is now a red state. He is 39 years old. He completely subscribes to everything Trump says. He is a disciple.
Always. Previously, he wasn't.
No. Oh, he hated Trump. Go back, go onto YouTube, look up JD Vance and Trump, and he goes, "This guy's an idiot. I wouldn't do anything with him. I wouldn't let him babysit my dog. Blah 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 blah." And then all of a sudden he goes, "I love
the opportunity to be.
I
vice
love
president.
you so much. I've never loved you more." And the thing is, he authored a book that I don't know how it sold around the world, but in the States it was made into a movie that Ron Howard directed. So that's pretty big ticket stuff.
Hillbilly Elegy.
Hillbilly Elegy.
2016, so he was quite young when he wrote that.
Is that right? Well, I wasn't aware he was 16. But
no, it's 2016 when
2016.
When he wrote it.
Yeah. So in the book, he talks about how Glenn Close plays his mother. He talks about how he was raised by hillbilly parents in the Appalachians and stuff. Here's the problem, okay, as there frequently is. He's from Middletown, Ohio, which is near Cincinnati. It's between Cincinnati and Dayton. I used to live about 100 miles from there. That is not Appalachia. Appalachia is over by West Virginia and the western side of Virginia and Kentucky and that whole area over there, North Carolina. It is not even close to the state of Ohio. Well, it is. It's on the other side of Ohio, but it's at least 200 miles away. He is not a hillbilly. He was educated at Yale. He is already his stories are starting to unravel. So I think the heat is going to be on this guy. I think he said, "I'm very disappointed. I really wanted to debate Kamala Harris." Really?
I thought I'd heard that he actually didn't want to debate. I thought he pulled out of being able to debate.
But at one time I heard him say, "I'm disappointed that I can't do it." Maybe he said that afterwards, but
no, but certainly before. I know where we are on the timeline.
She would shred him
on the timeline before Joe Biden pulled out of the race.
Yeah,
he had been asked, and he didn't want to debate Kamala Harris. So now we can say it because it's not going to happen, is it? Because she's going to debate Trump.
That's right. Unless she wants to debate both of them. If she gets it. Yeah.
And this book actually was relying on the sort of stereotypes as well, and that's also something that's already started to come back at him for the way that he portrayed people from that area. I don't know. We'll see what happens, though.
I think that's going to come back to bite him. You know, whenever you're talking about, when you write a book, like Kristi Noem writing that book about shooting her dog, whatever you put in that book is gospel, and that is going to be something that's going to chase you around every single period, every comma, every fact you put in there.
When you put your head above the pedestal and into a position of power in politics, anything that's happened in the past.
I'm not rating any book. I'm not doing it.
Well, you could write the book.
I can write a book. Nobody's going to buy it.
You don't have to be the running mate for the next president of the United States. Unless you'd like to be.
Can you?
You kind of fit the bill.
Can you imagine? Can you just imagine? Oh, for the love of God, no.
Get yourself tickets to that convention. You never know.
No bueno.
All right, let's have a look at something apart from American politics and something that basically crashed the world's computers on Friday. CrowdStrike's defective update.
Well, tell me what's happened there. You know, all airlines and train stations in the world were crashed. Delta Airlines right now.
They still haven't recovered.
This morning they haven't recovered. They're still, and we had a house guest who was flying, and luckily on KLM. But sometimes they move you around at an airport. I just hope that she didn't get moved over to Delta. But I mean, Delta is one of the largest airlines in the world, for God's sake, and you're not up and running. And they had to cancel 4,000 flights yesterday.
5,000 they've cancelled since the fix.
Oh, since that. Okay. Well,
since the fix.
That's an update.
But we are so close to Armageddon in this scenario like this. It could have been a whole lot worse. As it was the worst we've seen so far. That wasn't done by what do you call it? By somebody who wanted to bear ill. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it wasn't a terrorist attack. We know that. We know that it was just a screw up.
Single piece of code.
A single piece of code. That's what took the entire system down. And we all know this. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here that we are all absolutely at the mercy of the geeks.
We were just talking about people not taking the blame and not actually accepting responsibility. Well, Microsoft have basically blamed the European Union for
Really?
This. Yes, absolutely.
How does that work?
Well, it didn't happen at Apple, right? It didn't happen at Apple. It didn't happen at Apple because they have a different system. They're closed ecosystem, not affected by the update because other companies don't have access, the same level of access that other companies do to Microsoft, which Microsoft say is because of them having to agree with the European Union. The 2009 agreement gives makers of security software the same level of access to Windows that Microsoft gets. This deal was intended to counteract Microsoft's monopolistic position, so they didn't have a monopoly, particularly in web browsers. And a Microsoft spokesperson said that was the reason. The fact that another company had that access, it happened to them, but it didn't happen at Apple. However,
how did that make everybody feel who were sleeping with their kids and their dogs in the airports?
Yeah.
So
or missed operations. But they basically said that this is the response from the European Commission. That Microsoft has never, ever raised any concerns about security with them, either before or after the incident. So it may be just somebody in isolation speaking.
Could be.
We don't know. But anyway, rebuffed immediately by the European Union. Yeah. It's not their fault. And you know what? We're out of time, but we have to mention Mr. Springsteen.
He's doing okay.
He's doing more than okay. He's now a billionaire.
We love him.
Good to see. And the fact that he still gives value for money at his gigs, playing for 3 hours or more.
I'll tell you, those of you who have never seen him, go see the boss. He's the greatest.
He is. And he's a billionaire also.
He's a billionaire.
Rich Reynolds, US correspondent.
Adios.
Good to see you. Take care.
See you next week.